Recently, both Tommy Oliver and I Love Kim Possible a Lot posted videos about Spike, and both described their major problem with him as being inconsistent. Tommy described how he had no expectations for Spike because of how randomly he was portrayed. If you've seen my Equestria Games video, you know that I for one see Spike as very consistent, in fact one of the most consistent in the show. If you haven't seen it, don't bother, it's really not that good of a video, and I'll probably go into deeper detail here. I know that he was a mess in Equestria Games and Spike at Your Service and was a fantastic addition in the first Equestria Girls, but I don't think we try to interpret Spike in the way we do the rest of the main six. Each of the main six has one major flaw, and it's those flaws that make them complex. Looking at Spike, he too has one major flaw, and I think the way it's dealt with makes him a little too complex. Just as a note, these are all my own observations, and my observations alone. Not everyone is going to see everything the same way that I do, and I don't expect you to. This video will serve two real purposes. The first goal of this video is to go in deeper detail in Spike's character than I did in my Equestria Games video, partly because I don't think I did a well enough job, and because it wasn't that good of a video, and I think that what I had to say should be heard, but not with the poor quality of before. The second intention of this video is to kind of act as a response to both Tommy Oliver and KP. I know I left a comment on one of the videos, I think it was I Love Kim Possible a Lot, I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm Caps Lock, and let's take a look at Spike. To recap my games video, Spike's character is deeply impacted by the opinions of others. It was how the main six saw him that drove him to join the Dragon Migration, it was why he tried so hard to improve his image in Equestria Games, and when he thought he failed, he fell into depression. In a lot of situations, Spike feels pressured whether or not there's a legitimate cause, and that's going to be the main idea of the first part of this video. Pressure. I think it would be best to analyze certain situations independently and then tie it all together in the end. To begin, we have Spike at Your Service. This episode receives a lot of hate from the fandom because Spike is so pathetic in it. Applejack saves his life, so he insists to help her in any and every way possible, but his efforts to help end up causing trouble. People wonder why exactly this happened. Spike is no stranger to chores, and he's an excellent assistant according to Twilight, so why did he destroy the Apple's kitchen trying to make pie? Well, the answer is pressure. And just for a sidekick, Spike tries to bake a jewel cake and does so completely normally, so we know he's not just a terrible cook. It was the pressure from a cause that Spike felt was important. When just baking a cake for himself, it was mostly for leisure. When he helps Twilight, he's just doing his everyday job. In Spike at Your Service, though, everything he did was in an attempt to repay Applejack for saving his life. Spike had the idea in his head that in order to sufficiently repay Applejack, he would have to go beyond what he was used to. Had he just done the everyday work he does with Twilight, I believe he would have done fine, but since the everyday work he does, despite being very helpful, is common in Spike's life, he has to put in the extra effort so that his labor feels like it's worth something. He tried too hard to fulfill his dragon code. The next example is one of Spike's greatest, Equestria Girls. Here we see Spike as confident and smart. Well, he was under no pressure personally. He did what he always did, helped Twilight. He had no expectations for himself, but saw that everyone had expectations for Twilight. Without feeling out of his comfort zone, he was able to take control of the situation. Another case like this is Lesson 0. Spike was there to help, not get in the way, all because there was little weight on his own shoulders. Another thing to keep in mind is something that's talked about more than almost anything else in the entire show, and that's character development. The way we see character development in MLP, we see a character go through a situation where they realize they've been doing something wrong, and in the process they learn what to do. But in Spike's case, just because he learns what's wrong doesn't necessarily mean he learns what's right. All of Spike's character development so far has been him trying different ways of coping with pressure. Spike was pressured by Owlicious and All's Well That Ends Well, but he didn't go all Spike at Your Service because of his development. Spike learned that taking his problems out on others was the wrong thing to do, and yet he still needed to learn how to do things correctly. Spike at Your Service was just another failed attempt toward the same goal. He learned that he can't just push himself beyond his limits when he feels like he isn't sufficient enough. Spike came closest to reaching this goal by Equestria Games when he presented his counting to 10 method, which still wasn't foolproof. It was the moral of Equestria Games that taught him what to do: believe in himself. The reason he's so different every time is because he learns what not to do instead of learning what to do on the first attempt like the main six normally does. So, in conclusion, Spike always does his best to be viewed positively, but has always struggled to better himself when it feels it necessary. Spike has undergone a major evolution throughout the series, and I think how it was presented compared to the conflicts of the main six gave a lot of people a hard time trying to figure out what Spike was all about. Like I said before, this is all that I gathered. If you agree with me, cool. If not, that's okay too. As always, leave a comment if you have something to add. Also, I'm doing my best to get subscribers. As I'm scripting this, I have about 35, but once I hit 150, I become eligible to join the Rift Cafe. If you all could do me a huge favor and hit subscribe, it would give me the opportunity to meet with the analysis veterans so I can better my own analysis. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.